Imagine for a second that the secret ingredient, this kind of invisible dust that powers our entire modern world, was controlled by a single rival power. Well, here's the thing. That's not some what-if scenario. It is the world we live in right now. Today, we're going to break down how one nation built an empire of elements, all through one of the most brilliant and ruthless industrial strategies in history.
So what is this secret ingredient I'm talking about? What's the hidden lifeblood flowing through our smartphones, our EVs, and even our most advanced fighter jets? Well, the answer is something most of us have never even seen, but something we absolutely cannot live without.
They're called rare earth elements, or REEs. It's a group of 17 metals that are, and I'm not exaggerating, the absolute foundation of our modern age. You take them away, and our digital world, the whole green energy transition, our national security, it all just grinds to a halt. So the big question is, how did one country get a near total grip on all of them?
Okay, let's dive right into the story. It doesn't start with some big bang, but with a quiet, almost prophetic statement delivered by the architect of modern China himself. Picture this. The year is 1992. Deng Xiaoping is on his famous southern tour, basically setting the course for China's economic future. And during a stop at a rare earth facility, he says something that would become the core mission for the next 4 decades of what you could call industrial warfare.
Yeah, this wasn't just some casual observation or a boast. It was a command, a directive from the very top. He was essentially ordering the entire nation to turn a bit of geological luck into undeniable global power. And while the West was focused on the tech of today, China began this quiet, multi-decade campaign to control the essential building blocks of all the tech of tomorrow.
So how did they actually do it? How did they pull it off? Well, China's grand strategy was really built on 2 main pillars: a geological jackpot and an absolutely brutal economic game plan.
First off, you got to admit, China got incredibly lucky with its geology. Up in the north, they have the Bayan-Obo mine, just a massive source of light rare earths. But the real kicker was in the south, where they have these unique ion adsorption clays, the world's only major source of the much rarer, much more valuable heavy rare earths that you need for things like missile guidance systems. They paired this incredible advantage with some ruthless economic warfare.
And here's how they weaponized price. Beijing threw massive state subsidies and tax rebates at their companies, which let them sell these elements at prices that were just artificially low. But the ultimate weapon, the thing that no Western company could ever compete with, was a near-total disregard for the environment. You see, the enormous cost of cleaning up radioactive waste and toxic soil, they just ignored it. That became a hidden subsidy.
The result of this strategy? It was a flood. Chinese rare earths just inundated the global market at prices so low that it was basically a death sentence for any and all competitors.
And the speed of this takeover was just stunning. In 1990, China was still a relatively minor player. But by 2002, their price war had forced the world's leading producer, the Mountain Pass Mine in California, to shut its doors completely. Just like that, the United States was officially out of the rare earth mining game.
By 2008, the conquest was done, finished. China controlled a staggering 97% of the entire world's rare earth production. Think about that. The whole global supply chain for these critical materials now ran through one single country.
You know, this wasn't just a business failure for the West. It was a catastrophic failure of strategic vision. Western companies saw it as efficient outsourcing. Hey, let's get cheap materials and let someone else do the dirty work. China, on the other hand, sought for exactly what it was, a long-term play to control the fundamental technological infrastructure of the entire 21st century.
But this victory came at a terrible price, a price paid for with poisoned land and human suffering. In Baotou, there's a 10-square-kilometer toxic lake that just festers with radioactive sludge, leading to terrifying spikes in local cancer rates. Down south, the chemical-heavy mining has poisoned the groundwater and completely destroyed farmland. This devastation wasn't an accident. It was an accepted cost of winning the price war.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. After winning the price war, China's strategy almost unraveled from the inside. And this internal chaos forced Beijing to take even more drastic measures, really forging its monopoly into a true state-controlled weapon. See, the state's own policies like export quotas actually created super high prices inside China, which sparked a gold rush. A massive black market of thousands of illegal mines just exploded onto the scene. At its peak, a third of all of China's rare earth exports were being smuggled out of the country. For a minute there, it really looked like Beijing had lost control of its most strategic asset. Well, Beijing's response was swift
And it was absolute. They launched a brutal crackdown, shutting down all the illegal mines and forcing the entire chaotic industry to consolidate. And this all culminated in 2021 with the creation of the China Rare Earth Group, a single state-controlled monolith designed to dictate prices and execute national strategy with ruthless efficiency.
So now, with one state-owned giant in total command, China's chaotic resource had been forged into this powerful tool of foreign policy. The only question left was when and how they were going to use it.
On September 7, 2010, after a tense maritime incident, Beijing retaliated against Tokyo, but not with warships, with economic devastation. It completely halted all rare earth shipments to Japan, which was, at the time, the world's most advanced electronics manufacturer. This was the shot heard round the world. For the West, this was their Sputnik moment.
The panic was immediate. That abstract threat of being dependent on one country suddenly became terrifyingly real. Prices for critical elements like neodymium and dysprosium just exploded, in some cases jumping by over 1,000%. The world had finally woken up to the immense power of China's empire of elements. But China's strategy is always evolving. It's no longer just about controlling the dirt in the ground. In 2023, Beijing banned the export of the technology you need for rare earth separation and for making high-performance magnets. You see what they're doing? They're shifting from a resource monopoly to a much more durable knowledge monopoly. They're locking down not just the ingredient, but the entire recipe.
This latest move has triggered a frantic multi-billion-dollar race. A new Western alliance is now scrambling to build a non-Chinese supply chain from scratch. The U.S. is pouring money into resurrecting the Mountain Pass mine, Australia's Lynas is expanding like crazy, and both the EU and Japan are pushing aggressive new policies and funding. The new great game is officially on.
But look, the road ahead for the West is filled with risk. Building a full mine-to-magnet supply chain is colossally expensive, and it can take decades. And past attempts have failed spectacularly. Just look at Molycorp's bankruptcy back in 2015. On top of that, after years of outsourcing, there's this massive skills gap. There just aren't enough engineers who know how to do this stuff, making it incredibly hard to compete with China's state-subsidized machine. China built its empire through incredible foresight, a ruthless price war, and this disciplined evolution from controlling a resource to controlling knowledge itself. It really stands as one of the most stunning industrial conquests we've ever seen. But that very success has finally sparked a global awakening.
The great game for the elements that will build the 21st century has truly begun. China played the long game for 40 years to build its empire. The West has only just started to play. The real question for all of us is, can they possibly catch up in time?